7:01.
One.
I just want to start by very briefly about this letter. I apologize. I made a mistake. Don't want it to be a distraction, and want to continue with our meeting and get our work done, because that's why we're all here. So,
Well, seeing that you brought it up, I'm just going to say it. John and I are the only, where Joanne left the board and then became the boss of the board, John and I are the only representatives who have been on this committee since the CPA was passed. I can tell you that there is no one who has more fervor for all segments of what we do at the CPC than John Stevens. As far as affordable housing, there is no one more passionate about that than I am. 40 years on the Grafton Housing Authority. I worked with almost everybody associated with the trust to try to get that going. And then every single time that the trust has come to this board for money, we have gladly given it to them, and we were thankful for all the work that they've done. And to have anyone associated with that trust come back and make a comment like this about the leader of this committee is sinful, and it's terrible. It should be taken back. There is no one more passionate than John Stevens, and we are better because he is our chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I say something?
Yeah, me too.
I second that too. But as the freshman here of this committee, I have learned a lot from you and Mr. Gallagher and all of my other committee members. You've been wonderful in getting me going here, and I can see just by the first, 6 months that I've been here, 7 months, there has been a lot of passion, and you about affordable housing, and Jim, and I am, because that's one reason I wanted to help out with this and everything else, but there's no way, as me knowing you in this short of a time, to think anything different than what I think, and I think you're, excuse the language, one heck of a guy, and one trustworthy person that I'd be more than happy to go into a firefox with you and fight. I mean, this is something that I read. I didn't get the email. If I did, I deleted it. But that was by mistake, and I'm behind you 100%.
okay, I appreciate it, but I really didn't want to make a distraction.
Well,
but
it's not, but
No, you didn't make the distraction. I'd go into the fire hole with you, but I'd have to bring my walker.
that's okay. We can make that happen.
Brooke,
the Three Stooges will do it.
We'll do it.
Okay.
Brooke had something to say.
I didn't, but, no, I'd echo everything you're saying. I think it was a much ado about nothing, and I think you've done a good job, and I think we should move on, because it's really a distraction from everything else, and just ignore it, because it came from nonsense, and it is nonsense, so move on.
Okay, so we do have, I see, two unfamiliar faces. I don't know if you're here for the grant writing workshop?
You can,
Okay.
if you want to
wanna
come up to the table, just that table there, just bring up, let me get you another chair. This way, the folks can hear you and, okay?
So if you want to tell us who you are.
I didn't have an opportunity to let the folks know that you had emailed me, that you were coming, so I'll
Okay,
let you
good.
introduce yourselves and.
Good. And I'm hoping that the audio is working with the mask on and that people can hear. So I'm Ted Beauvais. I'm currently the president of the Congregation for the Unitarian Universalist Society of Grafton and Upton. And we're located at 3 Grafton Common, right next to the townhouse building. And I'm here because we're working hard to make our old building accessible, in particular handicap accessible, but accessible in all ways. And we're in our first phase now, which is to redo the sidewalks outside and have a landing so it functions as a handicap ramp to get in the door, literally to get in the door. We went to the Grafton Common Historic District Commission, and we got approval from them for what we're doing. We had one design that we presented, and after working with them, we came up with a different design. And we're right now in the process of getting a building permit to do the construction work. So we're starting there. Let's get people in the door, literally in the door, because the way it is now, you have to go up at least about 18 inches to reach the threshold, and that doesn't work, obviously, if you're in a wheelchair or otherwise mobility impaired. So that's our first phase. The other phases have to do with getting people from the first floor to the second floor, and eventually getting people from the first floor to the basement. But the priority would be, after we get people in the door, is to get people from the first floor up to the sanctuary on the second floor with a vertical lift. In order to do that in an old building, you need to hire an architect and structural engineer. So there's a whole engineering and design component to that. And that's something we wanted to talk to you about, to see if that kind of work is even allowed under this program. So that's one question we have. And then once we get that design done, whether it's through some assistance from you or whether we fund it some other way, then we would be looking to get a vertical lift. And again, is that something that would be allowed for under this program? You know, the program wants to preserve historic structures. And historic structures aren't really preserved unless their function and utility is preserved. They have to be useful and usable. Otherwise, they sit there, they go vacant, they decay, and ultimately they fall apart. So for us to be able to use the church the way we want to and to invite people in, we have to have that kind of access. So that's very important for our historic building that sits right there on the Grafton Common. And Suzanne, this is Suzanne Maas.
Hi.
She's our grant writing development expert, and she's going to talk a little bit too.
I'm not really the expert, other than I had years of experience of reading proposals, and I have done some grant writing. I'm a member of the congregation, Suzanne Maas. Looking forward to learning more about what meets your criteria so that we can, obviously we have explicit goals of what needs to be done in the building, and will be informed by architects and design, et cetera, and feedback from the town, you know, of what we can do and can't do. But I certainly can speak to the importance of the project and getting access, not just for the congregation, obviously, and serving that population, but for the public of Grafton. When I first joined, I was very interested in a program, a humanities program that was offered by our State Humanities Council, and Reading Frederick Douglass Together, and organized that with some other members of the congregation, but with the library, with the Historical Society, and we did it on the Common on July 5th, on the day that Frederick Douglass actually spoke from the Common years ago. But because it was federal coming through state monies, we had to have an accessible location if it was raining and pouring rain. And although we were the organizers, we can't get people into our building. This is there's other humanities programs that we could do, and we had to find other locations. We organized them, and then we had to put them someplace else because we can't bring them in. And here we could be bringing people to Grafton into the Common and this beautiful historic building right on the Common, and I haven't been able to do that.
Can I just interject? I think what you're looking to do is admirable. And I think the good news is, there's two good newses. One is that you seem passionate about what you want to accomplish, and that's exactly why we're here. Number two is we need to fix you up with Paul Scarlett, who's a member of this committee, and the old town hall faced all of the problems that you're having now. Paul was there at the beginning, and what you'll find is what you've already talked about here, is that this is a program that would be done in phases. So obviously, before you can have anyone in there for any kind of historical presentation, they have to get in the front door, as Ted just said. So phasing in a program like this is completely allowed under what we do here. We can have you go on our website. Paul can help you with that. But I think the most important thing is before you jumpstart anything forward, is to sit down and let him tell you his saga about what happened and the pet pratfalls that occurred that no one anticipated when they get inside working on an old building like that. And it had to be historically accurate. It had to be approved, as you've already been doing. But it also has to be done in such a way that the Americans for Disability Act would sanction it, all right? And that's some of the problems that he faced and we as a committee faced over a long period of time. So I'm so happy that you came in, and I'm so happy that you're excited about a project like this. And I really think that we can work with you, and everyone will be better for it.
That being said, I just happened to get an email this week from, it's called the National Fund for Sacred Places, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and the Lilly Endowment have put together a program that supports churches, obviously, religious structures. And some of the qualifying things or programs that they do, capital grants, where did it have it? It has national, regional significance, community engagement, and I think that's one thing that I know about your church, that you guys do things all year round. You're involved with Grafton Celebrates the Holidays. You do all kinds of programming. It needs to show project scope and need. Healthy congregation, you've got a good congregation that's active, involved, and that I'd never seen this before.
No, I have not heard of it either, and I've been in grant making a long time. So I know Lilly Endowment and
It's-
National Trust is on our list.
Right, and
Where-
they,
So I will look
because I
this
looked
up.
and they gave a list of like 14 congregations this year. One of them is Newton Corner, Episcopal, Grace Episcopal Church. So,
That's exciting.
to reach out to somebody there to see what that, because I'm sure people like that, they're happy to share their success and what they did, how to write the application. It says 14 to 16 congregation each year, like $50,000 to $250,000. I literally just, because I knew I had gotten that, so I was quickly kind of reading it. I don't know all
Thank
the
you.
ins and outs. But the fact that there is money available, because churches are a tricky thing, especially with CPA money.
Right.
There have been groups that have sued the state because,
Suit the towns.
I don't remember what town it was.
It was Acton. I read
Acton.
the Supreme Judicial Court ruling on that. And in particular, there were stained glass that needed to be fixed.
Right,
Nobody doubted that it needed to be fixed, but the stained glass itself was very religious in its depictions. And the Supreme Judicial Court felt that for that reason, that didn't qualify. But there's certainly other things that have been funded, particularly relating to handicap accessibility. We host the Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Girl Scouts, and other groups. So we want to be able to get people in the building, not only for our own purposes and our own members, but to be a community resource as well. So I think that's, and as long as we're being honest about that, I think that can fit within the parameters.
So,
another,
like I said, the best person you can talk to about this is John Stevens. Paul Scarlett knows nothing.
Well, I have met Paul Scarlett through the Grafton Common Historic District Commission.
Right.
And he's actually the board member of that, who's a representative for our part of the commons. So we started by going to him well over a year ago about our proposal and work through them on that process. So I'd be glad to.
Another funding source, I actually have two.
Oh, good.
Mass Preservation Projects Fund, which is Mass Historical Commission. I don't know their cycles in terms of you have to do a pre-application so that you kind of explain what you're trying to do. I don't know if handicap accessibility in its own right is a project, but if there are other things, because I know there was some wood in the front that needed to be replaced at the bottom of the pilasters. You know, but you could, that's how you build your grant around how they fund.
Right.
National Trust, Mass Historical, and then a more local foundation that has supported historic preservation is the Mcavoy Foundation, which is in Worcester. And the McAvoys actually had a house, the Rock House, I think it's
Thank
the
you. Someone was trying to remember and tell me about
Burrell,
it.
the Burrell's house on North Street.
What-
That
what's it
that was their
called?
summer house. They lived in Worcester, the McAvoys. And Tony Tilton is in charge, he's
Okay.
Electric Tilton, Whipple downtown. And the 1772 Foundation, they do historic preservation.
You're a wealth of
So
knowledge.
that's,
Thank you.
No,
that's, my brain's
very
empty,
helpful.
sorry.
Yeah.
I think she got all I
That's
got
wonderful.
off the top of my head.
No, that's very good, that's very helpful. So, we, like I said, we've raised money on our own,
Right.
and we're planning to raise more money on our own, but it gets expensive.
And all these groups,
Sure.
that's what, like the one that, the National Trust, the Sacred Spaces, these are matching usually. I know the state preservation projects is usually a 50-50 match. And as long as, you can get the money from us or anybody else. It does not have to be strictly from your group. And the fact that you've done fundraising is also a huge step in your favor in terms of doing a pre-application to let them know, this is what the project, the scope, this is how much we have it is estimated to cost. We've raised X dollars at this point. We're budgeting this much for foundation support. We're planning to raise this much more. So that's definitely a feather in your cap for
Okay.
being this far along in the process.
So on your timeline, we should go ahead and we'll do our research, talk to others, look for other grants, et cetera, but we should go ahead and prepare
Absolutely.
an application. And at some point in here, it also said that it may be a benefit to share the application in advance of that deadline. Did I read that
Right,
correctly?
sure.
Or just to get a
And
reading
if
of
Paul
it?
is your representative, that you can talk to him, because he's obviously on
Okay.
this committee as well.
Okay.
Are any of us,
Paul's on now, just.
Paul's on.
I see him. Paul, we're talking about you.
I hear.
So that any of us can help.
Okay,
I'll be happy to give you my phone number if that would be helpful.
No,
Sure.
appreciate it.
But again, in phases. And the first thing you're talking about is ADA compliance. And that would be something as far as doing the background work as to what do you need surveyed? What do you need planned out? Do you need to see Mr. Berger and pull a permit? Things like that. But that's something that could really go on the front end of this.
Right.
And once we get them in the building, then we figure out how do we move them around.
Other tools, like you need to know that there's strings. I don't know the strings to a lot of these. I do know the strings for us, and I know the strings for Mass Historical. Mass Historical will want a permanent restriction on your building. So if you ever, because the Congregational Church has one, because they got money to do exterior work, and the library. So anytime any work is done, interior or exterior, that's significant work, you have to have Mass Historical review your project. I think if they don't get back with you in a month or whatever the timeline is, then you can go ahead. If they haven't said yes or no, they've got that much time, and then you can go ahead. And with us, we have to have a legal interest, which we've done this with Hassanemisset Wood, or the Nipmuc Homestead. That's easier to say. on Brigham Hill Road, that, and I don't know, Ken's there, if it was 10 years, you know, ours is not permanent. That the law says that we have to have some kind of a legal interest. We don't have to own it, but we have to have some kind of a legal interest, so that we would have maybe some kind of a conservation restriction on it, you know, that and I believe the, words fail me. You got all my words, so they're gone. Planning board holds those restrictions, deed restrictions. But for us, the way we did it temporary, you know, just a short term. And I think it was that Ray worked with, where is he?
Actually, I
Ken.
think, Ken, you wrote that. You worked with Ray Gould on the restriction for the Nipmuc property on Brigham Hill Road, correct?
It doesn't look like he heard
You,
you.
Your
Ken.
mic's off or your ears are off?
Pardon?
Didn't you work with the Nipmuc Nation on the restriction?
I did.
I thought so.
So that would be something also that,
I did see in the Supreme Judicial Court filing the case, the court expressed a concern about these kinds of restrictions insofar as that kind of conjoins the town with the religious organization. And if the religious organization wants to do something in the future, they are in essence having to go to the state to get approval. So they expressed a concern about that, but I hear that it's a requirement.
because I think ours was, we're trying to satisfy the act, the CPA Act, so that we're not trying to make it strong teeth. Mass Historical's teeth are pretty
Okay,
deep.
They are.
So it takes a lot of time. They usually have workshops that are half a day, full day, that
Yeah.
you go to beforehand, just to kind of coach you through what do you have to do. And then it's a pre-application, and then they decide if you're gonna be asked to apply. And so it's a lot of work, and sometimes it's not a lot of money.
yeah.
So it's a balancing act, but, I don't know, $150,000 Congregational Church received.
Okay.
That was 10 or 15 years ago. I don't know, funding in terms of the state, if they've added to that fund, because, everybody from all over the state wants money, but Grafton, it's called a certified local government, which in the eyes of Mass Historical, we get extra brownie points because we did certain things that they wanted us to do. So we get extra money and when they do these rounds of giving out funds,
Okay.
because we're a CLG. So that would be in your favor if you did a Mass Historical grant,
Okay,
just because you're in the town of Grafton.
Okay.
thank you.
So,
Do you have any other questions?
I
for
just got a
at
quick
this
question, because I think you're gonna do it in phases, just so I can understand. If you're gonna come in, I think you said you're gonna ask for some architectural fees to figure out what you do. So when you go into the Unitarian Church, you're saying the first floor.
Right.
Where's the first floor? Don't you go into that little thing and then you can either go downstairs or upstairs?
So the main level is where the church offices are. There's a fellowship hall, there's a kitchen, there's a parlor.
Isn't that
You
down?
come in through the side doors, through the two side doors.
Okay.
The front double doors,
All right, so I don't want to, but,
yeah.
so you're not talking about doing anything there, you're talking about on the side.
on the side.
Okay.
The problem with the front double doors is there's
Yeah.
so many steps.
Well, that's what I couldn't
It
figure out.
it wasn't possible to get a ramp
Yeah.
to that elevation. So we were going to be
Okay.
coming in through the left side, and then that gets us to the first floor.
the church has already worked with Historic District a lot to get a ramp that's
Suitable.
right, that I think both sides agreed on. And so they're just at this point implementing what that plan is.
Yeah. Yeah. We're in the process of applying for the building permit, or the contractor
Mm-hmm.
is. So we can, and I don't know, it's getting to be winter, but we're hopeful.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Any other questions? Any other ideas for grant money? Okay. Thank you for coming.
so much
Please.
for all of
Thanks,
that
it was nice meeting you.
excellent
Yeah, nice
information.
meeting you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Next time you come in, maybe we can look at your whole face. I can't breathe, but I'm fully inoculated.
I'm getting my booster on Saturday.
Oh.
I'm excited. I'm like a little
Oh.
kid in Halloween or Christmas.
That's it. I got my
Excited.
booster more than 2 weeks ago.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer's,
Set Ken up, yeah, Ken, you should be
Report.
able to share that, I think, unless this setup prevents that for some reason.
I know I haven't been able to
Great.
check.
Are we sharing?
We are sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know if I can make.
Okay, there is no substantive change in this report from the one that was presented in August. The only difference is that time has moved on, and the two articles that were shown for the October meeting were passed, with that being the North Street Design Services and
Clerk.
the town records preservation down here under reserve funds.
Yep.
So just to recap then, and the affordable housing is coming up, and it'll be $69,824 to deplete the affordable housing reserve and transfer it to the trust.
That was, Ken, that was 69, 824 last month, right?
That's correct. Should be the same.
Well, I thought you said 59. Sorry.
Well, perhaps the sound you're hearing from me is muffled, as the sound I'm hearing from you guys is also muffled. Anyway,
Stan
69,
when
you're
I
correct.
hear it and you don't.
You're correct.
Yeah, that's it.
So then, just to recap, we left last fiscal year with an unaudited $475,000. We took in almost $700,000 in revenue and state match, leaving us with $1,174,000 for fiscal 2022. We made $142,000 in our two bond payments, same as every year. Our grants this year so far have totaled just $322,000. Expenses as much as $24,000. So that was $489,000 of expenses, leaving us slightly more than when we came in at $685,000 for whatever else that the community would like to do.
I move we accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? All those in favor?
John,
Oh, I
I'm sorry,
didn't do
you
a
have to-
roll call.
I just realized that, I apologize. You do have to do all the.
If
roll
I
call.
was in charge, I would have done a roll call.
I know you would have.
You probably should have done a roll call attendance too.
First time he's out in 2 years, right?
I know it, and you can tell, huh?
We're gonna do a roll call. This is like we're pretending like we're starting over. Brooke Paget,
Aye.
Justin Wood,
Aye.
this is Jim,
Jim Gallagher, aye.
Richard Whitney, aye.
Kristen,
Kent Holberger,
Aye.
Paul Scarlett,
Scarlett, aye.
Kristen.
Kristen Belanger,
Aye.
Town of Grafton. John Stevens, aye. So we're all here, I guess.
No, we're missing
Sandy,
Sandy.
Sandy's missing.
that's it. Okay, so that's good. 8 out of 9. So now I gotta do that same thing all over again
For what?
to vote, to accept the
think-
treasurer's report, or is that?
I think you can take that as the vote.
That's,
So that's
What
both
did you just
attendance
do?
and the roll call.
Yeah.
Was that?
That's what I thought we were
That's what
doing.
I thought we did too.
Okay, well, I was doing attendance, sorry.
Oh,
Well, we couldn't vote if we weren't here.
Yes.
right.
Okay, so that was a double.
The attendance, I think, is really important when everybody is remote. You actually have a quorum sitting in the room,
Okay,
but you do have to do, I think there was questions at one point of whether you still had to do a roll call vote if you had the quorum in the room or not, what you do.
so we do still need to do that. Okay.
Joanne knows everything.
No, I don't.
Okay, clerk's report.
Hey, Ken, can you stop screen sharing? Thanks.
Sure.
So I think there were 3 sets of meeting
Yes.
minutes. Do you need me to bring them up? They're August 26th, September 23rd, and September 29th.
Well, can I put a motion on the floor so we can have a discussion on them? Like to make a motion to approve the minutes for those 3 months?
Second,
Rich beat me.
Do I need a roll call on this?
No, you gotta have a discussion.
Yeah, you can, so you have a motion and a second,
But I do
I
know,
was
any
gonna-
discussion. If
Okay,
no one
sorry.
discusses, then you
Discusses it.
take the roll call vote.
or, I'm sorry, I'm
That's
kind of
okay.
wiped out.
Was this your first day here?
Yeah.
What's the matter with you?
They don't call it jet lag for nothing. Is there any discussion about the minutes? I can kick in, it takes a little while. Hearing none, I'm gonna do a roll call, and I started my list. and
How
only
did
got-
I?
Brooke Paget said aye, Richard Whitney,
aye.
Paul Scarlett,
So we went in,
Aye.
Ken Holberger,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye,
John, aye. Did I get everybody?
Kristen,
Kristen.
I said Kristen.
you did?
No,
Well, I wrote it down. Kristen, sorry. Maybe I wrote it.
Kristen, I wouldn't have missed you.
You wouldn't have.
That's because I don't
think
ever
he-
want to go to
I
Texas,
think
that's
he
why.
Going for a job. So, motion approved unanimously.
You
Committee
know,
proj-
can I just say, in case anyone's like watching this, and I certainly hope that you're watching GCTV, but just to point out that that John's, and I don't mind saying, John's mom is in hospice in Texas, and he's been running back and forth between Texas and Massachusetts, trying to take care of his responsibilities here, his responsibilities there. And if he looks worn out, he deserves to be worn out. And I take great pleasure in harassing him, because I love him, all right? So just to point that out.
I know he likes me, he teases me, so. Committee's report assignments. So we have 2 new projects. North, 95 North Street, and it's not a new, but it's a continuation. The clerk's,
Record retention, or record,
yeah, I can't even read my
archival
writing.
project.
Town records.
Town
Foundation.
records, that's what it says, town records.
If I may just be, in regard to this projects
Yep.
sheet, I noticed about an hour before the meeting, 'cause I looked at it over again, we did not update the sunset dates for like the Cisco Homestead, for example.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That,
The ones that changed at town meeting.
yeah, the one that
Thank
recently
you.
changed at town meeting.
Yes, thank you. I will take care of that, and I will resend that out. Totally forgot about that. Thank you.
Good catch.
But we do need, I've written the grant agreements for 95 North Street and the town records archival. So it's just waiting for who from the committee will kind of be the liaison on those.
Okay.
Paul, I assumed you would continue with town records, but
Yeah, that was my thought too. So,
Okay, and Kristen, are you okay with doing 95 North Street?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
poor Kristen.
That looks like.
Sounds so
I-
enthusiastic.
She looks like I feel. I want to
I'm
go
assuming
just.
Kristen doesn't feel well. Sorry, Kristen.
I want to stretch out on a big comfortable couch as soon as I can.
And tell me about your youth while you're stretched out on the couch.
One of those two.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we have those two, and Cisco, can you, I don't know if you've communicated with Ray, just to
Not-
let her know that we did extend the sunset?
She does know the sunset is extended.
Uh-huh.
She,
Okay.
you know, she gave us an update a
'Cause it seems
few
like
months
she gave
ago.
us an update a couple of months ago, but
Yeah,
I don't
she's-
know if they've done anything since.
The,
As I seen it the other
The-
day, going, because I had to
you
do
see
a
cars?
house across the
Yep.
street, clean out, and somebody was over there banging nails and hammers, and it looked like some new plywood was put up on it, like a shed or something.
Yeah,
To
so
the
maybe they
right.
are.
So,
Yeah, so if you could just find out
Yeah.
if they were able to, because it seems like they had an architect, if they were able to get contracts.
yeah, the last update I got from Ray was the end of August, and she said that hopefully by September they'll have more information, and I haven't heard from her, and I admittedly haven't reached back out to her since
Sure.
either, so.
Okay, yeah, if you could just ping her and just to see where she is.
Yep, happy to.
Okay. Good deal. CPA plan update.
Yes, so I sent it to all of you. One of the things in doing it, you know, I'm sorry, gonna start again. Roberta had created basically a template that could be used to update the plan every year. And, you know, within that template, it would allow us to put in the projects that had been passed at town meeting, what the funding amounts were, anything that came out of the public hearing. The big thing that came out of the public hearing that you had was to include a meeting with CIPC on an annual basis. So I updated the task calendar. I also adjusted it. There was actually a mistake in the calendar that I had mentioned to you a couple meetings ago. So I took care of that. In writing it, though, I ran into the old issue that often happens with the annual town report. Are we talking about a calendar year or a fiscal year? And what I gave you, I think I split between the two, because you're looking at calendar year projects, but I was giving you fiscal year data on revenue and state match. So I think, my gut is you want fiscal year all the way around.
Yeah.
Just to make
Okay.
it
Yep.
consistent.
That's what
Because I know
Did
doing the
any more,
annual
I-
reports, it's so hard, because you're trying to combine 2 years. It's so confusing, and it's,
okay,
And
so
the
I will,
continuity will be easier for you next year now.
yeah.
And
Well, and
I'll,
it's just, it's so when you're looking at it, it makes sense to all of you
Yep.
as well, and the general public. So,
Yep.
you're good with fiscal year all
Yep.
the way around. Okay.
Yep.
I'll nitpick one thing just to say
Okay.
out loud that I would like, if we're doing it by fiscal year, is the task calendar as well.
Do that
Start it at
fiscal-
start it at the fiscal year
Yep.
start rather than in January.
Sure, I can do that.
It's just a very minor thing, but it's just one of my.
Well, it's continuity.
It
I
is.
think, no, I don't think
And I
it's a
think
minor
that's
thing
one
at
of
all,
the reasons
Justin.
that I did half of it calendar. I think I was looking at the task and it was just screwing me up. So I will update this and get you all a new copy. Okay?
great, thank you.
Was there anything else besides? No?
I had nothing else.
The only thing when it says the recent projects,
Yes.
now that emergency rental assistance, didn't that come back? So is that shown
It did.
anywhere that money wasn't really spent on that?
Didn't we only spend like 23,000?
I think it was about 35.
Okay.
What I can do is get a treasurer's report from Ken and attach that to these updates, like a year-end treasurer's report. And that would then show any money that came back. That might make sense to include that. Because basically, I was pulling the revenue numbers, but you're right. Nowhere on this update do we capture the money that came
Yeah,
back. And-
because you'd never do it normally. You spend the money and it gets spent.
Right, but it is, the capturing of money that's returned can be very useful information, even at town meeting. We, years ago, there was the issue around Hassanemessett Woods and that subcommittee that was doing a lot of the trail work. And I remember sitting at a town meeting, and this was when I was on the committee, and we were gonna pass over funding like $10,000 for some more, it was the second archaeological dig, that's what
Yeah.
it was. It looked like the town was gonna completely pass over funding that because the temperature at town meeting was, we've been spending enough money, not CPA, but just in general, and it was like, that group had returned 15,000. Because sometimes what will happen is like with the Cisco Homestead or these projects that are have many phases, they can end up returning money back. But then people have in their head, well, we gave them so much, and they don't realize that, like in the case of rental assistance, the majority of that came back, right?
Right?
I don't know if that all made sense, sorry.
No, before we move off this, should there be anything special that we do in this meeting to invite the CIPC for next meeting?
No, so on the task calendar, I have them coming in December.
Because I think Colleen and I had emailed in the summer, and that's when they wanted to come, or that was a better time? Is that right?
Right, so, next month, which you'll be meeting again on the first Thursday. So we would be inviting CIPC. Is that what you're talking about, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so typically the chair would reach out to the chair of CIPC
Okay.
and let them know the meeting's coming up, and I get it
If
on
you
the
need to hand
agenda.
that off, let me
Can
know.
I ask a question on that? Because I don't think I was at that meeting, or I had to leave when CIPC came in. What's the rationale of that meeting?
I think mostly it was to see of the projects that they had on their worksheet, whether or not any of them were suitable for CPC consideration. So it wasn't like a cherry picker thing.
Well, once it's on their worksheet,
Yeah,
it's not eligible, is it? I mean, if you look at what the charge is,
well, I think if there were actions taken on it to actually fund something moving forward or something like that, but if you've got something on like a 5-year plan and they're not going to be looked at for 5 years, and we determine that that's something that fits under the auspices of the CPA fund, that may be something that we may want to go to that requester and see if they want to file with us.
but, I'm gonna take mine off because you
Good.
were taking yours off, just, that requester on CIPC is the town,
Most of them, yes.
right? That has a budget, and we can't just fund town projects
Exactly.
budget. So once you're on CIPC's radar, I mean, I might be wrong, maybe you can come up with some scenario,
Well, recreation,
okay?
all right, a beach barrier for the beach, okay? Recreation gets funding from the town, and this may well be something that under the recreational auspices of the CPA, that we may be able to take care of that grass barrier, something like that.
The way I look at it, and the difference, at least for me, is the people who have control of the different departments know they have this coming up, or they'll need to fix this or whatever. You know, for however many things, CIPC gets that list when it's above a certain dollar amount, and then those groups may never get the money to actually support that with how town budgeting goes. So if there's another way they can go about trying to get their budget via CPA, via
Well,
other
I think
grants.
groups, I think you're right.
Like,
If
I
it's
was-
a group,
When I say groups,
When
I
it's
do
the
mean
town.
town departments as well, when I'm saying groups. I'm kind of
well,
including those together.
and maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but somewhere in here, I just read it, about how, I'm not gonna
It
find it, but I guess if
can't-
it's
if
coming
it-
from the town, I think, all right, go ahead. sorry.
My understanding of it is if a project has been funded and it's in the budget, CPA then cannot fund it. So when you're
Right.
looking at CIPC, and they have a 5-year capital plan, there could be something on there for year 3 that might meet the CPA requirements, and that could be funded. As long as the money, okay, a good example would be if we go back to that super park. And there was money, set aside by the town for the super park. Once that money was taken away, in essence, from the super park and put towards capital projects, it could not then be replenished by CPA funds, because there had been, I'm gonna call it $200,000 earmarked for a project, then taken away. CPA funds couldn't then supplant that.
Okay.
Did that clear it up at all?
Well, and I agree with Brooke, because,
It's kind of a small window that.
oh,
we fit into.
absolutely. I remember when I first looked at the list that they had there, I would be hard pressed to find any that were suitable for CPC consideration.
I think this is just to give them an opportunity with our eyeballs and their eyeballs to say, they think this is a project that could be CPA eligible, and for us to say, yes, we agree, or maybe not, or if you do it this way, it could be.
And remember, there were times where folks would come before CPA and say, well, CIPC told us to come here. And this, this was years ago.
Well, that's
At the
different though.
beginning, and it
That's a little different. If you're a group and you go to CIPC, that I can see.
Right,
And
but
they say, we're not funding that.
But the problem was, my experience was it often wasn't something that CPA could fund. It didn't fit the criteria.
Yeah, and
So this
So
is to
this is
prevent
a way to
lot of
make
wasted
sure
effort.
everybody's on the same page.
Okay.
Right.
yeah, and the way I look at it is that there's also lots of other towns that have had projects that were by the municipal side, so to speak, that got funded by CPA that were on a longer term punch list, so to speak. You know, school playgrounds that are open to the
Well-
public, you know,
well,
is one example.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, if you said it, because now I'm gonna back up, because we just tried to do, the town made a mistake by not putting in a park,
Right.
right? So that's a town thing.
Yep.
When you say a school playground, I would think that's out. Me, I would think, because school playground's out. A municipal playground behind a library would be in. A school playground, school bleachers, school parking, I mean, those things, I don't
Well, you're in
think.
a,
Outdoor
The
recreation.
difference is it available,
Yeah.
is it available
Yeah.
24/7 to the public? So if they say, I want a hot top around South Grafton Elementary, all right? And we say to them, well, can we have people showing up at 10 o'clock in the morning and going on the slide in the jungle gym? And they say, no, we have classes going on. I say, well, no, it's not eligible for
Okay,
CPA.
so there's position, but I think it's smaller than, I guess I just feel the
But it's not a
CPC,
blanket, no.
the
but you
CIPC
have
coming
to
in,
look at it,
showing you
the-
what they have and trying to say, where are we gonna
Yeah.
fit in? It's not,
but I believe it's where us and them are getting together just to see where we both stand
Okay.
and what our bylaws are, that we can do these projects maybe together, or if they can't do it, we can do it. If we can't do it, we can send them to them, back and forth. So it's basically just, as us getting together, the two groups, we're just looking into each other's,
Sharing information.
sharing
sure.
information.
I
Thank
just
you.
That's
remember
great.
when we passed this, way back when, one of the things they kept saying, it's not to take town budget stuff
Right.
and use this money to supplement your town budget. That was their big thing. It's to do the extras to increase the quality of life in the towns that you wouldn't ordinarily get in the town budget, because you
Right.
can't fund those things. So I just want to, that we don't start trying to supplement our town budget with CPC funds, because
No.
that's not the intention of CPC.
You're
So-
exactly correct.
Okay, all right,
There's-
that's all. So we can meet.
Minuscule projects that would be on the CIPC list that CPA could
Might
find in
not
my
be on
mind. But
Okay.
there are some.
Okay,
But at least it's given the two groups an opportunity to.
yeah,
come
that's
in.
fine. I don't mind meeting with people. I just
Being
don't want
open
to.
faced with everything.
Well, that's it, as my friend says, is that anytime you have town committees that are talking with each other, it's a win-win situation.
It's just
I
like
mean,
any-
we learned something about, more about that. I mean, Brooke was on the select board, he knows all about the CIPC and everything like that, and he's on this board, so he's a good barometer, you know? But, I mean, I've never been on the select board, so I don't know exactly what they do. And having an opportunity to sit with them and listen to what they do, I found that very informative.
Well, you could in the spring run.
No, no,
Would you walk or you could walk?
no, they don't elect prima donnas, I'm sorry.
Divas.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you. So for project updates, I'm gonna let Paul start, since we have great news and sad news.
Uh-oh.
Is he gonna, are you taking, I'm sorry, are you taking them in order on the agenda, or gonna take them
Oh,
out of order?
oh, sorry, you can do town archives first, and then, oops, then gravestones. Man, I really did skip two, sorry.
Sorry.
Do the archives first, please. Paul,
Town archives,
yes,
the record? Is that what you're talking about?
yes, if you have if they've had any, work done,
So you're talking about the 13,000 that was just awarded to do that work?
right, if Candy's done any additional work in the last couple of months that you're aware of.
No, they had finished everything that they had used the previous funds for. And now they are working on, the new ones, but they haven't really started yet, because they just literally got the funds.
Okay.
Cleared last week, I believe.
Great, okay. Historic gravestones, we have actual progress, we just. did
Yeah, we're
notes.
gonna meet Monday at 1:30, and I'm gonna take over and see if we can get that gravestone, up to snuff and replace it with a new one maybe, and take the old one and find a new home for it in one of the buildings in town, after it's been redone.
Can we do that?
If Mass Historical approves that.
If they approve it, right.
And we may have to go to the Nipmunks, because we did initially had to go to the Nipmunks because it was told to us that, and then there's a marker out there that says Nipmunks. There are no Nipmunks buried there. So, but you still have to go to Mass
But
Historical.
we've already, since I was a kid, it was always the Indian Cemetery
Right.
there, and we had the other one down here on
Right.
Providence Road.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I was speaking to Daryl Roberts the
Yeah.
other day, and this kind of came up along, and Evan Brassard was there as well. They both have some,
Input on it?
not input, but like background or experience. Thank you. I don't know why I can't come up with my words.
John.
Some experience on this, so it's worth it to touch base with them.
I will. I will touch base with both of them.
Okay. Now you go on the comment.
Yeah, now the comment.
I have a,
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to speak on the comments.
No, comment.
Oh, comment, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
No, sorry.
Sorry.
Mask fault. Grafton Common Restoration.
All right, so you guys just approved minutes. We talked about how we were trying to get everything wrapped up for the winter and that we were going to be going before the select board in October for the change orders. That has not happened yet. We are doing our due diligence, as I told you we would do, to make sure that when you're doing a change order, it's not like you're going out to bid and getting competitive bids from multiple parties so that you know you're getting the best offer. With a change order, you don't have that. So we've been trying to do our due diligence and validating that the quote that we're being given is a reasonable quote. And we still need to vote on that. We were supposed to meet Wednesday, but that didn't pan out. We had a glitch, technical glitch, and weren't able to meet. So we are meeting on Wednesday of next week, and we are scheduled to go before the select board on the 16th, and that will be for both the bandstand, which is the renovations as well as making it accessible, and then the backflow preventer for the irrigation system that is up there. In the midst of all this, I think you've all seen the lighting has been put in. We still don't have any electric hookup yet. We paid the bill for National Grid to come out and do the work, but that just gets you into their rotation, and you're still at their whim when they show up. But I definitely think that will happen before winter hits. But if you all follow the news, you probably have heard about an accident that happened right after we put in the lighting. In fact, less than 12 hours after the lighting was put in, a driver at 3:00 a.m. on a Saturday 2 weeks ago, I believe, fell asleep at the wheel and didn't turn and drove right through the east gate and took out the 2 granite posts that the archway was in, knocking down the archway, smashing the brand new lantern that was just put in. They leaked oil on the brick, they scraped the brick. So we're in the process of getting an estimate for how much that work will be to have redone. The gentleman that had the accident is insured, and we'll be getting coverage to pay for that work, but we first have to figure out how much it's going to cost. And so that's ongoing. And in addition to that, in light of the fact that that happened, there's an electrical panel that, while not exactly in that site, is not far removed from it. And we need to discuss that. We've talked about putting bollards in to help protect that electrical panel should somebody else come through in that section, so they don't take out the electrical. So that's all going on. And again, my hope is that we are, we go to select board on the 16th. We get the change orders approved. Some of that work can be done over the course of the winter, into the fall and through the winter. Painting will not be able to be done, most likely. I doubt the weather is going to be such that we'll be able to do that. So that work would end up being finished in the spring. And I anticipate that the work to, replace the archway and the lighting and all that will also have to happen in the spring. So long and short is, it's not going to be done before winter flies. The project will finish up in the spring as it stands right now. But everything's moving forward. We paid out some invoices recently. One thing that I don't know if I shared last month, but we did get a final report from the Arborist, AV Resources. So, we followed all the steps that they had suggested to mitigate any issues with the trees. Some trees were removed either last year or earlier this year. None of those were because of any work that was being done on the walkways. Those were trees that were unhealthy and deemed by the arborist to be dangerous. So those were removed. We also lost some. One came down before we even started the work. There was a large tree right near the bandstand that had guy wires attached to it, helping to sturdy the pole that was in front of the library. I think the tension on that caused that tree to snap, and when that came down, it took out the evergreen that had been used for Grafton celebrates the holidays tree lighting ceremonies over the years. So we lost both of those, and then another car accident in the summer, early summer, just to the left, if you were facing that east gate that was taken out, just to the left of it, went through, took out 2 sections of fence and a beautiful cherry tree, a mature cherry tree. So I still need to talk to town administrator because I believe there was insurance money there, and I'm hoping we can get money to replace that tree. So we'll see about that. But the nice thing was the arborist came back and said that because we followed all the things that they had suggested, and one of the ways we mitigated any potential risk to the trees, just so everyone knows, the original plans, we were going to have to excavate down significantly below the prior walkways that were there in order to create a base, and some of the wiring was going to go under that. We determined that after doing some core sampling that there was actually a really good base existing under there. So we changed the plan so that we did not need to put any wiring under there. We reconfigured the way the wiring was going around the major trees. And we installed root guards when we were putting in the walkways. And because of that, the final report assessment is that no trees were impacted by the work on the walkways. So,
Oh, good job.
really good news there, and thanks to Bill Yeomans for raising the concern about the trees. We had that concern too, and I just wanted the town to know that we did follow the recommendations of the arborist and were able to.
Thank you.
It's good to see citizens doing yeoman work, right, Paul?
Good fun.
Paul, I know you're gonna do this, but since it's insurance and they were mature trees, you try to get some bigger trees. Don't let them cheap out with the money.
Input from the arborist on this is, if you put in big trees, they don't tend to do very well.
Well, bigger.
They tend to die, or if they do survive, they just don't grow very quickly. Whereas if you put in a 2 to 3 inch diameter tree, they tend to do much better and grow more quickly. So the size of the trees that we put in were also based on the recommendations of the arborist.
Ken,
Ken, you're
You're
muted.
can hear you.
Tanya, you're muted.
Great. Paul, was there as part of the project a tree succession plan?
So we knew that we wanted to put in non-invasive species. There was a report done years ago that we've been trying to relocate, but we haven't been able to lay our hands on that yet. So the extent of the plan was to replace the trees that we had to remove and replace them with smaller trees as long as they weren't an invasive species, like a Norway maple, which is an invasive species.
So if they're replacing a tree that doesn't belong there, is there guidance to advise the town on what to plant and what to plant over time?
Yeah, we had a landscaper who helped us with the project, and he did provide recommendations of those. But again, I don't have the tree report. He was the one that did the tree report too. Unfortunately, we have not been able to locate that yet, but that is something that's on our radar screen, make sure that we have a plan in place for the long term.
Because the trees do die, trees do fall down, they get knocked down apparently.
Yep.
And they take a long time to grow, and they last a long time. So the question is, when a tree dies or is damaged, do you replace it with a maple, an oak, or what? A cherry? What do you replace them with?
So we've been replacing them with a similar tree. So like if it was a Norway maple, we wouldn't replace it with a Norway maple, but like a sugar maple maybe. If it was an oak tree, then we replace with another oak tree. So we try to replace like with like where it's appropriate.
I was able to
But,
get, Ken,
trees have different spacing requirements and, okay.
Ken, I was able to get a list, or use that list and got a bid from Weston Nursery for the trees. So we do have the species that we do plan to plant.
We have a plan that shows every tree that's in there currently, Ken, and shows the type of tree that it is, the specific type, the size, any kind of issues that tree may have, steps that were recommended to take care of those trees. So we do have that. It's a very detailed report.
But I like your question and the suggestion that we have a plan so that every year we go over the inventory, we see if anything's been lost, and that we know we have like, okay, we were just replaced this type, this is the one that's gonna be next, because they do want a diversity. So, because otherwise then everything either gets the same illness at the same time, or they all die at the same time. So you're trying to,
Yeah.
but I think that's a really good suggestion for us to do on an annual basis.
I would be happy to share the report with you. I just would warn you that it is extremely large file and it takes up a lot of space on your email. But I'd be happy to share it with you if you'd like to see it.
Well, certainly, you can put it on an FTP server or whatever. Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing it, but I'm glad that you're thinking about that.
Rich?
Paul, I want to know with this accident that happened up there is, and with the time frame that we had before with problems of getting the lighting done and getting the archways up and getting the granite, wouldn't it be feasible right now to say to the contractor that did the job and to the manufacturer of the lighting and of the archway, can you duplicate what you have there now, and let's put an order in, because we waited how many weeks for that, Paul?
Yeah.
I mean, I look at the long term here to get it done.
What we're doing, Richie.
Okay,
Yeah, we've already reached out to the contractor and also to Hammerworks, which is
Yeah.
the company that did the lights. So we're in the process of doing that, trying to get prices.
Well, you should just.
well, wouldn't it be the same price as it was before, maybe 10% more because of the cost of right now, steel has gone up, and I know that because what they're paying me a day.
Yeah.
We don't have an itemized account of what every piece cost. That's not the way public bidding works, so.
Okay.
I don't have that, and regardless, it has to be handled as a change order, so it has to all be priced out.
So
And,
so for clarification on my end, we can't just say, okay, we know we have an accident and, we want to replace it with the same thing. Now we got to go through a bunch of steps just to get that fixed, right?
The insurance will pay for it.
Well, I understand that, but
yeah.
I'm just
Talking
looking,
about the delay.
But I'm-
Waiting for the insurance check to clear for.
I know, but what I'm looking at,
Proceed with it, so, but it is a process, Richard.
yeah, I understand that.
And we have started that process.
Okay, but what I'm trying to get to is we waited a long time to get these things, and somebody fell asleep at the wheel, and now we have to wait more time You know, I'm just trying to cut down the time for you to get the product. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To make it a little easier on your end.
There's supply chain issues.
Right,
So
that's
as
why-
those resolve, I imagine we'll be able to get things moving along more quickly.
Right.
Hammerworks, it took 6 months for them to get the materials they needed in order to create the lanterns. Once they had that, then it's a process of them manufacturing, because those lanterns are all handmade.
Right, that's why I was saying that
I anticipate that we will have that in
for the
late
spring.
early summer.
And at one point, the town tried to keep extra posts
Yep,
because this is a recurring event.
right, especially there after they took the dummy out.
And Paul has found out that we no longer can get Milford Pink. You can get something close, so it's no longer, it was a Milford Pink was the granite that has always been there, so.
Oh,
So that's something that we can discuss at our meeting in terms of having extra. So just in case, we don't have
Yep.
to wait, it just gets put in, like you're saying.
okay, I got you. Thank you, Paul.
I would love to have it done sooner too, Rich.
No, I understand, but I just look at it, you know, getting it, you know, on track. That way we're in line somewhere and we're not waiting 6 months down the road. Now we can order it. Now, you know,
But part of that too, and that's something we'd have to clarify with the accountant,
yep,
we can't spend money we don't have.
right. I understand.
Even though we know we'll have it when the bill comes in, we can't write the check.
No. If
Well,
there's
or, you
nothing
know,
in the bank, you can't write
so-
the check.
So there's, I know there are rules about that, so. Okay, any other questions?
Weights and measures.
Comments? Weights and measures, they had an in-person meeting, and so I wasn't able to attend last week, their meeting. So I don't know, and I have not been to the library to see if it got moved.
It's not.
It's
moved.
still there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will ping. God help me, David,
In your spare time.
yeah. I just need to,
You need
It's
to
in
have
my
one of those Henry Kissinger lookalikes is what you need.
because that's, now that the library's open, there should be no delay. I'll talk to David and hopefully in the next week or two, because we just, if it's more than I remembered 10 minutes ago.
Don Clark organized the movement of it.
Therian?
But the chairman,
Okay,
Therian,
Okay,
Therian.
sorry.
But yeah, I'll talk to Don too.
Okay.
Lions Club, and before
What-
you say anything, there's a Lions Club banner on eBay for $25. If you talk to, because it's like, I'm sure they want it. There's somebody selling it.
All right.
So, there you go.
I doing this project in the three items there. It's a joy for me to work with Lion Dennis Perrin and Lion Pete Adams. They've been very helpful in all that they've been doing. What I'm being told is due to the close proximity of the initial septic design to the soccer field drainage, the septic system needed to be moved to meet the minus requirements. A deep hole and perk test has been completed. This was completed by Peter Adams as an in-kind donation of equipment and time. The septic system redesign has been completed by land planning. The plan has been given to the Board of Health for approval, and as soon as approved, we will be going out to bid for the septic system installation. We're holding off on the bathroom construction bids until the septic is approved, and we hope to have the projects completed in time for the spring soccer season. So there you are.
Okay.
Get those soccer players off the Little League grass. It eats it up.
Okay, thank you. And it's a Grafton Lions Club banner.
Oh, a Grafton
I
Lions
got
Club.
nasty
all
look.
right.
Oh, yeah, we
So
were
now-
like, you
yeah,
did get
okay.
nasty, we were like.
But it said like some state, somebody, and I don't know where they
Could
got
be-
them, but
there's
it's
a lot of
Grafton
Grafton.
Lions
Okay.
Club. So I figured
I'll
they'd
let them
want it.
know.
Okay.
I'll let them know.
State was- I think there's one in
Cisco, we kind of got the update that we don't have an update.
Yeah.
You know, with the Lions Club, they have this little tradition that someone from a visiting club will come and take something, you know, and bring it back, and then they have to send a representative out there to retrieve it. So I'm wondering if someone's fallen down on the job and they grab the banner and now they're selling it.
No, well, it sounded like, it was like some state governor had all these, I don't know how I got them, but somebody else got the estate or something. And that, I just looked up Grafton and there it went. So there it was.
All right.
Okay.
On
so-
eBay, huh?
Yep.
All right.
Recreation.
Recreation, ADA projects. Krista, do you have any news from the world?
I did not make the recreation meeting this week, so I don't have an update on the ADA.
Okay, you sound bad. You go
do.
too bad. Why are you here?
Yeah. Because I've missed the last couple meetings, so
Okay.
I felt bad.
Okay.
As far as the other project, 90 North Street, Jen's working on an RFP for the design services, and she's hoping to get that out for the spring.
Okay, great.
Well, there it is.
Is it okay, Kristen, I'll just send Jen an email about the recreation ADA stuff,
You have a link there?
find out what's going on.
Or just go to
Because
eBay and put that in.
I think,
Hey, you found
I
it,
think it's almost done.
John?
Yes, we're almost done.
Yeah, that's what he just did.
I just sent a link to email, but anyway.
The weed abatement project is going out to bid. They're currently drawing up bids to commence the first and second phase of the four-phase project. The first two phases will focus on determining the current conditions regarding water quality and flow, and that's our end of it. It's a very long update. The bids are scheduled to go out early January of 2022.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
95 North Street. I don't know if you've been ill. Does Joanne, maybe Joanne has more information,
So she
Kristen?
just said Jen's working on the
Oh,
RFP.
sorry.
That's right. The one thing, Kristen, at one of the meetings, Sandy had said that she'd like to help work on that RFP.
Okay, I'll get with her.
Okay, I think even for her to review it, you know? That's
Yeah,
her specialty.
I'll let Jen know to send it over to her for an edit.
Thank you.
All right, if I may, John,
Sure.
I do want to say that I would like to discuss the email, but I don't think today is appropriate because it's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
And so on that note, I would move that we add your email to the next agenda.
Okay.
Second,
I didn't hear what he said.
just say yes when they come to you.
No.
Justin wants to discuss the email that I sent, and it's not on the agenda, so I said we can't discuss it because it's not on the agenda. So I said, can we put it on the agenda for the next meeting? So that's what we're gonna do,
Okay.
okay? We don't need to vote to do that, so.
I mean, why are we giving this a life?
Yeah, what's it for what?
So what?
But
I-
that, we
that
don't
we
wanna
can-
waste any more time
yeah.
tonight
Is this
on
your
it.
idea, or is this coming from someone else?
This is my
We
idea,
can waste
but it's gonna be
time
for next
week,
meeting.
It's not on the agenda, guys, we can't
I
talk
have
it.
something more important.
Well, I just noticed that he was on as a participant and then he dropped off, so I get a little,
You wanted to make a quick comment, right?
I
Jim
would
is my
li- well-
bodyguard.
Put it this way, my comments are never quick.
that's for sure.
And Jim knows
That's
that,
that's
and
like
most
me,
of the
yeah.
select board knows that.
I wrote Richard, quick comment, so
Okay, my quick comment is, we need to,
It's still only one
at the
vote.
town meeting, I was very disappointed in our group, our committee, okay? I'm the freshman here, I'm the new guy. I don't believe that the applicant that came looking for, from the Recreation Department, was well-prepared. We weren't well-prepared, okay? And I am the freshman. I got up there, Justin did first, and he wasn't prepared at all, and he even said that. And there's no guilt, and I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody, I'm saying as a group. We need to have our applicants that come in here, and if we're going to town meeting with them, they need to step up and be able to talk about the project that we're giving them the money. I mean, I went rambling on about the $50,000 for the Recreation Department for 95 North Street. And I said point blankly, and you were there, Joanne, and I said, you know, if somebody's giving us property, which they were, and we accepted it, and it was supposed to be for recreation, and here we are, CPC, gonna give the money, and it seemed like it was going south, and the Recreation Department didn't speak up. She was kind of fumbling of what she was doing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I was right.
Rich, can I just interject here? A couple of things, and I think what you'll see as we go on, the longer that you're here, which I hope is a very long time, is that when someone brings an article to us, one of the things that's made abundantly clear to them is that they need to be prepared at town meeting to stand up, to stand up and to propose and explain that article, okay? And the thing that and I'm sure if it bothered you, it probably should have, but we are not making a recommendation. We made our recommendation here, but at town meeting, the person who is actually making the request for funding is responsible. So if they're not prepared, I don't think it's any reflection at all on the board, because all we can do is get them there, let them know that they need to pitch their article and go forward with that.
Wait, I get to go next.
And Paul has his hand up, and I
He's gonna wait.
apologize, something just happened, and I don't
gonna
know
wait.
what to the owl.
This is my second apology of the meeting. I apologize. This is my fault. I wasn't at the meeting. Unfortunately, I was in Texas, and I couldn't participate.
There's no apologies for being with your mother.
No, your mother's got.
Guys.
I wasn't at the meeting either, because I
No,
was
but-
sick,
but-
but
Paul
to,
wants to speak.
I want to speak, and I can't even speak. I didn't get somebody else there to be our representative to take questions. Because I think if we had an assigned point person, and that's what I've written down
That's-
when she was going over the plan, I wrote all this stuff down because I've already talked to a couple of people about this, of this
Yes.
exact same thing that you said, that we need to have a representative there not to answer the questions about the project, but to take leadership to say, thank you for that question, that's a great question, but we're gonna have Mary Smith, who's the proponent, explain the answer. So that it's not like you're looking at everybody like, who's gonna speak? So, because we no longer read the warrant articles the way we used to, that was a much more involved and a very engaged part of the meeting. We were there and we had to speak and we had to decide who was speaking. Now it's kind of like people come, we don't sit together anymore. It's a very different world now. But that's something that I wrote down, that I need to make sure, whoever the chairman is, that we have assigned people at each meeting, especially if the chairman is not able to attend, and that a proponent has very clearly understands
Their
that they
responsibility.
need to be there. And that's part of our conversations when they come in February and March at those meetings. You understand, not only are you applying now, you're gonna go to town meeting as well. That's your real performance in terms of
right, let Paul
pitching.
speak.
Paul. Uh-oh, we got Joanne. Paul.
Oh, sorry. Well, he can speak.
Oh.
I'm trying to get the screen back. I don't know what happened. I
There you,
apologize.
there you go. Okay, Paul. Now he's
No, but
muted.
See, we can't, he's not
So we
muted.
can't-
It's because we've lost the owl. So you're hearing him through my,
So we're not hearing him.
yeah.
Well, he's waiting. John, I agree
So-
with everything you're saying at the same time, and Richard said it, I think, incorrectly a couple times. We don't give money to anyone. We recommend a project, and the town votes on it.
Right.
So it's not us saying, oh, these are our projects, we're going ahead with our projects. These are projects that are brought to this committee. The committee decides whether they meet the qualifications, and then we put it out to town meeting. Sure, you want to have somebody who can orchestrate it a little better, sure. But if you're going to have
Ping you.
something up on town meeting, it's not incumbent on us to sell it. I mean, I
No,
think we have to be there to
Right.
answer questions for
Right.
sure, and I was ill that night, so I wasn't there either. But it's not us, it's not our project.
No, but I think it is incumbent upon us,
Yeah,
just
but-
to make sure that the people know. They need to be there. This isn't an option. If you because I know Ray Gould could not attend one time, we talked to her, she had somebody else go, that they understood
Yeah.
how serious it was
Yep.
and how critically important. Sometimes nobody asks a question at all. Other times you get a half
Yeah,
an
I
hour.
hear you, but I don't think it, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing
I
is,
think we need to have
it's
a
not,
presence that's visible and clear to everybody.
okay, but the other thing is too, let me say this to you first.
Nice camera angle, I like it.
I know.
Okay.
You
Well,
guys hear me?
yeah,
Now we can.
Wait,
let me just say this.
Let Paul.
Oh, go ahead, Paul,
Yeah.
because you were there.
Can you hear me?
Before it blows up.
Yeah, we can hear you, Paul.
Yeah, no, we got it.
All right. So I was there at the meeting and
Thanks.
you still can't hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
can hear you,
Sorry, I
Paul.
was talking.
So I was at the meeting and,
Under
you
the
know,
desk.
I completely agree with what John and Jim have stated. We are not, and Brooke, actually, we're not there to represent whoever is bringing forth the project. And Jen was prepared. She had a presentation. She chose not to show her presentation for some reason. I do not know what it is, and maybe we could follow up with her. And I actually did speak up and say, you know, Recreation Department, that's
Yes, you
why
did.
I ultimately went to her. She stood up. She had ample opportunity to interject at multiple times during that meeting and chose not to, for whatever reason, whether she was waiting for everyone else to say their piece and then she was gonna say hers. But it is really, the onus is on who is ever bringing forth the request to support it. And, you know, the fact that, you know, you guys stood up and tried to help is great, but that is not our responsibility. And she was prepared. I just wanted you all to know that. She had a presentation. They did pull it up at some point, but I don't know why she chose not to do it. She thought maybe it was gonna go smoothly, but as soon as it didn't, I would have stood right up and said something, but she chose not to.
And again, that's, I feel like I take ownership of that, because if I'd been there or somebody that, to say.
Well, I was there, and I
Well,
did
but you-
say.
No, but you
Oh,
were
and
just
as
shooting from the
vice
hip,
chair,
not,
as
you know.
vice chair, then I should have been there too. But tonight is the first night that I've gone out in public at all.
We know that.
All right? So
Can I make one
if
quick
you want to talk,
observation?
maybe I'll take blame.
No, can
I'm
I
gonna
just, I
blame
don't think,
Jim.
I don't.
No, I'm
can I
just-
Make one quick
You're not
observation?
getting,
As an observer.
is what I'm saying,
Can
and
I
what
just
I'm
say
trying
this
to
real-
say.
Can I just say this real quick, Richard? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm
As
sorry.
an observer, one of the things that happened is the individuals that had questions, and it was the way they posed the question. And I don't even know if folks realize this. People stood at the microphone and said, can someone from CPC answer this question?
Right.
And I think that made Jen go, well, wait a minute, now is CPC supposed to answer the question? And at that point, when that happens, it may make sense for somebody from CPC to say, we're, you know, the committee can answer questions around why this project is eligible for funding, or, you know, things around that, but the project owner will answer that question. Does that make sense? Because
Absolutely.
I kept hearing the people
Yes.
say that, and I was going, ooh.
And that's why I got up.
It's locking everybody up because they don't know who's
And that's-
supposed to answer,
and again-
and you jumped up to answer.
And I jumped up to answer, but what I'm trying to get across, okay, 100%, yes, we're not supposed to be doing it for them up there at the town meeting. But we should have them, if they're coming here with an application, and we grant that application, and say, okay, we're going to pass this on for $50,000. It should be our responsibility, I believe, and this is me, okay? And you can all take it the way you want to take it.
Okay, you
But
got to
wait a
finish
minute.
the sentence.
Let
The
me-
whole thing is, we do that.
Okay, but we need to interject more to them.
No, we
saying-
do it. We do
Yeah.
it. We've been doing it ever since I've been on this board.
I didn't see this on this project. That's why I'm
We're making
saying
this way more.
Yeah, I think people were asking
to be.
CPC.
All I'm asking
Yes.
is say,
I agree.
can we
Yes.
do?
Yes.
We make sure that you get up there when we come to town meeting and have your stuff ready? That way, we don't have to interject. We'll be there for you if we have to be.
But let me just, and I'm gonna stop after this, right? Okay.
I think that horse is
I think
really
there's two
dead.
problems. It's two problems, and Joanne, I think, picked out one. You have people who don't understand what the program's about and are asking questions to CPC when they should really be asking by the applicant.
Right.
And I wasn't at that meeting, but people who probably should know better should have been asking people who are the applicants. Okay? Secondly, as a member of this committee, I can very well see me not being for a project, but it meets the requirement of a project. And so then it goes on to town meeting. And so then to say that an individual from CPC is gonna come up and talk about that project, when I might not even be for the project, but it met the qualifications to go to town meeting, to let the town decide if they wanna do it. So I don't think it's appropriate for CPC to be, and I guess we're saying, I think John's right. Have a ringmaster there, who can direct traffic. And so when somebody says, can CPC answer that? They can say, no, it's the applicant's thing. They can
that's-
answer it. If you want to know how it got in front of CPC or how CPC decided that it should come in front of town meeting, we'd be glad to go through that. But whether it should be passed or not, that's up to the town. And it's up to the recreation or whoever, the church or whoever brings that project to say, this is why the town should pass it. And it's not up to us.
That's
We
what
bring
I'm
it forward,
talking
and we're a
about.
funding source.
Right.
But the town is gonna have to decide, and then the applicant has to convince the town.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, is when they leave here, they know it's their responsibility, 100%, that they're
No,
gotta
it
get
sounds
up
like
and
you got
speak.
thrown off by what Joanne's saying, that people kept asking CPC
They
to
kept
answer.
asking for CPC.
That's right, so they
somebody.
were asking the wrong
nobody-
person.
No offense, Paul was there, Ken was there, Ken got up and answered a question, Justin tried to, but me and my big mouth, that gets me in trouble every single time, okay, I got up and spoke my mind about it, and I told them we all passed it, 100%. And it went this way, that way, and, it's CPC money. And then Ray Mead said, it was CPC money, this money is for these projects, okay? So all I want to do, and I don't want to make anybody angry, okay? I want everybody to get along, quote Rodney King, can't we just get along? But I want everybody to know when they leave here, they got the best from us of all the answers, and if they need something that night at the meeting, we can answer that question for them, not do the presentation like I did for Jen. Because she just stood there with her computer, and they didn't have anything up on the screen and they were asking, like she said, for
That's why,
CPC.
again, it's.
Right.
it's
If
coming
I
to
may
me.
make a point of
I need
order.
to keep saying,
Point of order.
we need to direct this to the applicant. We need to
Oh.
direct this to the applicant.
Okay.
We need to, okay, broken record, sorry.
Point of order.
Point of order, we've been on this for a little while now, it's not on the agenda. I think if we want to continue talking about it, we should put it on the agenda for our next meeting.
I'd like to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. please.
Why?
We just beat it to
Why?
death.
Why?
Wait, let me make one comment.
Oh, my
One
good
comment.
God.
You guys
So,
wanna go
moving
home?
forward, I wrote earlier and then I rewrote it. At the February and August meetings, we will make it abundantly clear, even more so, because we already do,
Yep.
that the proponent needs to be at town meeting, prepared to answer questions.
Perfect.
And also at town meeting, if the chairman, vice chairman, treasurer, clerk is not there, those people need to make sure one of them is there.
Or
to
we
be-
designate a person.
To be the
No, we don't.
director, that among those, then we'll say, okay, this is who's gonna do it, so that we know there is gonna be somebody from CPC to redirect these questions, because that's where we got in trouble, it sounds like, is that you guys were having to defend an article that was not yours to defend.
Right.
So those 2 points, that should solve it, right? Are we good?
We're good.
Good.
Motion to adjourn.
Yay.
No.
Are we done?
It is on the
We haven't
agenda.
voted yet.
Adjournment is on the agenda,
Oh,
so.
but we finished all of the reports?
Motion to adjourn.
Nobody yet.
Did
Okay.
they
Are we
finish
done?
everything?
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I
Second.
think they did.
Brooke,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Paul,
Aye.
Ken,
You're muted.
Nod.
Nod.
Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Jim,
Jim Gallagher, aye.
John, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, we are adjourned, thank you.